Hello, all. Happy Sunday. This is great news if you're a Liverpool fan. A fantastic Sunday, a very relaxed Sunday, because it seems like we finalized the striker signing for this season, and Liverpool are going to sign Hugo Ekitike for what seems like a 90 million euro deal, including add-ons, which could go up to 95 million euros as well. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money for someone who's probably not had the same amount of game time, the same amount of sample size as probably the other targets we had. But some of those metrics, we'll probably go through those metrics. They look really, really good for Ekitike. He's someone who's got definite strengths, and yeah, let's dive in. Let's dive in. So, yeah, let's look at Hugo Ekitike first. Um, that non-penalty goals is low. Usually, when you see a lot of dark greens, it's good sign. But yeah, this non-penalty, it's just 74 percentile. This has to go up, which probably tells us that he's probably a raw goal scorer. He's not a natural goal scorer who will just score goals out of nothing. Probably is some, it's a part of his game that he needs to develop. But everything else you look at here, shots, assists, shot creating actions, progressive carries, take ons, passes received, progressive passes received, touches in the attacking penalty area. Those are very, very good. Interceptions very high as well. And he's a very similar player to Isak, isn't he? Stylistically very similar, dribbler up top, has a bit of flair. But yeah, but if you look at Isak, I think this is where the difference is. If you're signing Isak, you're getting a nailed on goal scorer. That 88 percentile is impressive and something you would expect from Isak. And everything else, even his progressive passing is much higher than Ekitike. But Ekitike does manage to hold his ground when you're looking at these metrics, passing and progression metrics, possession metrics. But yeah, I think even the interceptions, it shows that he probably works harder for the team. So let's compare Ekitike with some of the other forwards. Let's compare Darwin Nunez, Alexander Isak, and Haaland, probably the two best strikers in the Premier League, and then Harry Kane, who's probably the best striker in the Bundesliga, where Ekitike is from, and Benjamin Šeško is probably another forward, up and coming forward in the Bundesliga. So yeah, similar amount of games in terms of matches played. Obviously, Darwin didn't start a lot, but the others, you could say, there or thereabouts. And straight away, I think what you notice is that for these young two strikers, Ekitike and Šeško, the goal numbers are quite low, whereas Isak and Haaland and Kane have managed to get more goals, in the games that they've played. And if you compare the XG, he should have ideally ended with around 21.6 goals, 21 or 22 goals this season, if he had matched his XG, but he's ended up with 15 in the league. And these are numbers in the league, of course, which is quite low, which shows the conversion rate is quite poor. Whereas if you look at Isak, he's got 23 goals out of an XG of 20.3. Haaland has been bang on with his XG. Šeško has outperformed, but his XG itself is so low, just 10, which is the red flag for Šeško. Probably why no one's actually going after Šeško and paying those big bucks that Leipzig are asking. And Harry Kane, if you look at that, XG of 20 and getting 26 goals. Harry Kane's amazing. And let's toggle this. I think so. This is one of the metrics where I feel Ekitike does need to improve. He needs to be a better converter of chances, which he's probably not. Seems like a raw finisher at the moment. But if you look at other metrics, I think this is where it becomes interesting. If you look at progressive carries, this is where Ekitike absolutely stands out. 3.26 per 90, and no one is close to him. Darwin isn't close to him. Alexander Isak, who himself is such a good progressive carrier, isn't close, to Hugo Ekitike. Probably makes up for it with his progressive passing as well, But Ekitike sounds like someone who's a bit more physical in terms of taking players on, carrying the ball forward. Compared to Isak, compared to most of the players. And I think this is a standout metric. This boy is a proper ball carrier, someone who's a good dribbler as well. And if you look at his take-ons, which, let's come here, take-ons. he attempts 4.18 take-ons per 90. That's amazing. He takes defenders on, and the success rate maybe needs improvement, but still it's 1.82 take-ons per match, and that is really good. And no one matches that. Absolutely no one matches that. Maybe Šeško has a better success rate, but the volume of the take-ons that this guy attempts and his progressive carrying is so good. And another metric that he absolutely stands out compared to Šeško is his defensive actions. So if you look at tackles and interceptions, 0.81 tackles and interceptions. We know Darwin Núñez works really hard. You can never fault Darwin for effort. Sometimes it's the quality that's missing, unfortunately, but that's amazing from Darwin. But Hugo Ekitike is second here with 0.81 tackles and interceptions per 90. That's very low for Isak. And also, if you come down to aerial duels, Isak struggles here. Just 32.1% aerial duels won. And even the attempts are pretty low, to be honest. 26 and 55. Whereas if you look at Ektike, he probably gets more into aerial duels, and his aerial duel success is also much better than Alexander Isak. So yes, Isak is probably more polished at this point. Yes, Ekitike is better than Isak in certain points, but let's compare. Let's look at Ekitike from the last couple of seasons, and then let's take a look at Isak from the 2 seasons prior to when he signed for Newcastle. So ideally, this is what Newcastle would have made sense out of before shelling out £70 million for Isak. So if you look at the sample size, Isak played more games, 66 league games compared to 48 of Ekitike. Similar goals, to be fair. XG similar again, especially assuming that Ekitike played less. And if you look at the XG, he's got a higher XG, right? He's got more goals, 0.52 goals per 90 compared to 0.46 goals per 90 for Isak. His XG is higher, both of them converting less than their XG. And if you look at progressive carries, 2.99 carries per 90, progressive carries per 90, 2.05. If you look at progressive passing, very similar again. Progressive passing received, Ekitike does well. And now if you look at the take-ons, attempted take-ons, 4.33 compared to 3.11. Higher, not a higher success rate, more successful take-ons per 90, but not as high as Isak in terms of success rate. And even if you look at progressive distance, Ekitike carries the ball a bit more than Isak. Isak tries to use his passing as well. I would say Isak is slightly better at passing right now. But yeah, I think in terms of ball carrying, I think this guy is a demon. He seems like a proper demon. And even I think his heading accuracy, aerial duels one, is higher than Isak. So let's come to defensive actions. Again, Hugo Ekitike does well here. More interceptions, more tackles plus interceptions. Similar in terms of blocks. But yeah, I think this guy is someone, who is probably a player who's very similar to where Alexander Isak was before he moved to Newcastle. But yes, Alexander Isak in those 2 years, in those 3 years, has become one of the best forwards in the Premier League, one of the best forwards in the world. And can Hugo Ekitike reach that? Only time will tell. But these metrics certainly look very, very, very interesting. And really looking forward to seeing how this works out. Hope this boy does well. And it's been such an exciting summer for Liverpool. We've signed so many good players. And to be honest, how I expected it to go, it's gone slightly differently. I didn't expect so much of movement away from Liverpool, but that's how it seems to be happening. I think at the start of the season, I think striker, left back, right back seemed like, okay, you need to get players who can contribute in the 11 more often than not. I would still probably put Bradley as the right back here, but over Frimpong. But yeah, I think those were 3 positions we had to get, and I think 2 more positions I felt that we really needed to focus on was centre back, because we absolutely did not rotate Konate and Virgil. played them a lot. I don't think Slot trusted Kwanzaa a lot. He trusted Gomez, but Gomez kept getting injured. And another position is the DM, where I felt he didn't feel like Endo could start a lot of important games with Graham, but technically played all important games for us. Probably why I got burnt out by like 2/3 of the season. Same happened to Soboslai. I think McAllister was probably luckier in the sense that we had Jones who could rotate a bit. But yeah, I think Soboslai, I thought maybe we could still manage with Soboslai, Jones, and Elliott at attacking midfield. But yes, I think what they've also felt is that yes, personnel-wise there is an upgrade, but there are few issues to be fixed from a tactical perspective as well. Creativity without Trent would have been a problem, and I think that's the reason why they've prioritized signing this attacking midfielder, getting Weirds in for Soboslai. And another thing I think that is clearly missing from Liverpool is outright pace. I think we had a lot of it under Klopp when we had Salah and Mane bombing forward for fun. But now I would say we don't have that. Gakpo is not the quickest. Diaz probably has lost a bit of pace with his that zip and acceleration after his injuries. Salah obviously is not at his quickest. So we lack that outright pace, and maybe that's why someone like Frimpongs come in. Maybe and Kirkes, they're really quick from those fullback positions. Maybe that's what we want to use. Interesting to see. And how much more can we spend? How much more can we spend? How much have we spent? We signed Frimpong, Pekshi, Weirds, Kirkes, Mohamed Ashwin from last season, got another keeper from Woodman, got 3 keepers. I don't know. I think there is a reason. There is definitely a reason why we've signed all these players in June and not waited for July. Because there is a PSR deadline and there is a reset of PSR deadline at the start of July, and that's the reason why we've signed these players, because we didn't practically sign anyone apart from Chiesa and maybe Mohamed Ashwili. We didn't sign anyone, and maybe that's why we've not sold as much, right? If you look at Kwanzaa, even he's gone on 2nd July, which means he would be considered as a sale in the current cycle of PSR. But we did manage to sell Quibin Kelleher, Trent Alexander-Arnold. So there could be a lot more to spend. There could be maybe another 150, 160 million net spend, and you've not sold most of your players. You've not sold Darwin, you've not sold Luis Diaz, and these two will probably be like-for-like replacements. If we sell them, we're going to get someone. I mean, you would assume Hugo Ekitike comes in because Darwin Núñez is not going to be there. And obviously, Jota is also not going to be there, unfortunately. And yeah, maybe we'll get a replacement for Diaz. Maybe there is a replacement pending for Kwanzaa. And you've got Elliott, who will probably be sold. And there are players like Doak, Morton. So there are quite a few players, who could be sold, and a lot of money that could be raised. Maybe one more. I think Dream would probably be getting one more forward if Diaz leaves. And I don't think we're going to get 2 forwards. I don't think it's going to be Isak and maybe a left winger. I don't think it makes sense for us to go in for Isak now that we've got Ektike. I think it's probably an overkill, but I don't know. Maybe they feel that they need another striker with both Jota and Núñez not being there next season. I don't know. Maybe that could be the case, but yeah, you never know. This summer window has surprised us so much, hasn't it? I don't think we expected to sign Florian Wirtz for £116 million, not even in our wildest dreams. But we did, and you never know what's going to come up. Maybe it is going to be Rodrigo and Gay to wrap up the summer. Yeah, really excited, and looking forward to looking forward to the summer, looking forward to the new season. And yeah, that's it for this video. Thanks a lot for joining me. I'm really excited to have Hugo Ekitike at Liverpool. Sounds like a player with a lot of potential, someone who, if coached properly, if he does well, he's got all the essentials to be an absolute top class forward and maybe be the next Isak in the Premier League. So yeah, have a good rest of your Sunday. Bye bye.